Hi, David. I know you've been writing a lot about shame lately. How do your ideas about shame relate to your first book, Talking Back to Dr. Phil, Alternatives to Mainstream Psychology?
Hmm. Can I show the book first?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm kind of proud of it. It's kind of a cool
I love
cover.
that. I love the head on the cover.
The head is actually not Dr. Phil's head, that would be illegal. It's an Indian man
Uh-huh.
who has been photoshopped by an artist, not me,
Right.
to make the cover. Dr. Phil has a kind of psychology that he spreads, disseminates on his show. So I'm not really down on Dr. Phil the person. I'm really using him as a straw man for a way of thinking. And that way of thinking is best exampled by his statements, how's that working for you? Or what are you thinking? So imagine someone saying to you, let me exaggerate those words, what are you thinking?
Right.
Can you hear the rest of it?
Yeah.
You dummy.
Right.
You idiot.
It's like contemptuous or something.
Yes, there's a condescension, a contempt, like, what are you doing? What are you thinking? You think that's working for you? That attitude comes through in a lot of his shows, maybe all of them in some way. And that attitude, which may work for a TV audience or people who watch because we get pissed off about some of the people he has on there,
Right.
doesn't portray an interest in understanding people deeply psychologically. It says, let me correct you because obviously you don't know what you're doing. Psychology is different from that. Psychology says, you're doing things for reasons and I should try to understand them. So if you're smoking a cigarette, I don't think, don't you read the pack that says this is dangerous? Everybody who smokes knows it's dangerous. Everyone who goes to a counselor is saying, help me stop doing this because it's unhealthy. So the real issue is, why are they doing it? What's the psychology in the background? Me looking at you as if something's wrong with you, that's the hallmark of shame, shames you. And in the background may make it harder for you to change because now not only are you doing something that you feel bad about, smoking cigarettes or whatever pattern we're studying, but now you can't stop doing it.
Right.
Now you have to feel bad about yourself in general. That's a shaming attitude.
Right. Right. Well, are there specific topics that Dr. Phil deals with on his show where you see his approach shaming people?
Yeah, there's a lot of topics. In the book I have, I think, 19 different chapters, and they're all on different topics, exampling from a show, what he did, and how I would look at that. So I have a big section on diet and weight loss, because it's a lot of shaming of women. Why are you doing this? Wouldn't you be prettier if you did this? Wouldn't it be more disciplined? All those questions kind of shame. And then there's a lot of other ways in which I think one of my opening chapters of the book is about anger. So he's working with a person who's angry and then applies this attitude, well, what's wrong with you? Is anger helping you? Doesn't it hurt? Many people think that way. Many people apply Eastern thinking or religions to say anger is bad.
Right.
That's not a very psychological idea. It's a moral idea. Anger is bad. In a way it is. It can be hurtful to oneself and to others. But psychology would inquire, where's that anger coming from and what do we do about it? So Dr. Phil plays into that conventional way. Maybe there's something you can do. I'm trying to remember the specifics of the show. He may suggest some kind of breathing exercises, some kind of meditation kinds of things that would help you release that anger.
Chill out the anger or something.
Yeah. Great idea. Except for it assumes that the anger is not arising because it's a natural response and that you need something of that anger.
So how do you address the issue of anger?
So let's say you came to me and said, can you help me with my anger? And I'd say, tell me about it. Give me a story. Give me an example. So already I'm not saying, well, here's a solution to your anger. I'm interested in your anger. The first one, let me help give you a solution, assumes your anger is not a very good thing. I'm indirectly saying your anger is not so good. That's going to make you feel slightly bad about it. And we're not investigating it further. So I'd say, tell me about it. You say, well, I was at work and the coworker said something to me and it hurt my feelings. And then later on, I was like, I was chewing on my lip and I found myself really upset and I was trying to not be.
Right.
And I'd say, that person said something to you. Can you go back to that moment and see what it was like? Remember when that person said something to you? You'd say, yeah. I'd say, tell me what it was like. And you'd say, well, now if you see my hands, many people do this, I'm already showing you some of the expression in my body. My body language is saying, this is what anger looks like a bit. I'm not doing this so consciously. Well, and I'd say, wait a second, slow down right there. You feel those hands you have? Feel those. They're like fists, like ready to fight kind of things. You'd say, yeah. I say, go ahead and feel those. Make them even stronger. Let's not judge them. Let's not try to get rid of it. I'm not saying you should go punch this person. I'm just investigating your anger as if it came up for good reason. I want to know you. I don't want to shame your anger. And you might say, yep, there they are. I can feel them. I'm making them tighter. And if you would really enjoy them, let them express more, what would they do? You might say, can you hear that sound?
Yeah.
And you feel that little push. It's like a push.
Right.
There's a oomph in there. And I'd say, yeah, you have some oomph in you. Feel that oomph. What's that like? You might say, it's like I can push something. I could give something a good shove. And now I might say, let's look at that shove capacity you have. If you were in that moment with that coworker and you felt like you could give a shove, what would you have done? And you might say, I might have said, hey, wait a second, I disagree with you, or I don't like the way you're talking to me. Now, rather than having you leave an interaction thinking, how do I get rid of my anger? I'm giving you a kind of a power, not my power, not a theory of power, the power that naturally arose, that was called anger, but it's got something that you need in it. And if I give that back to you, one, I don't shame you, and you might need it. It's going to help the anger problem, not by me helping you get rid of your anger afterwards, by helping you use some of the energy in that to make a better life for yourself and better communication with your coworker.
Oh, that's really interesting. Thank you. We want to let people who are watching know that if they want more information, they can visit your website at www.davidbedrick.com, where they can register for one of your upcoming classes on shame, or they can sign up for your mailing list and receive a free ebook on diets and body image. And they can also purchase your book, Talking Back to Dr. Phil, Alternatives to Mainstream Psychology, on Amazon or at their local bookstore.
Right. It also can be found in many different book libraries, like 300 some odd libraries. It got some really good reviews. I was proud of the book and the energy that went into it. And I also want to say, I appreciate Dr. Phil. In a psychological way, you see, if it's not for Dr. Phil, then I don't have my counter response. He says, I think psychology is this. He gives a shove, and he puts it out in the airwaves. And I say, I disagree, and I give a shove back. That's a decent relationship, I think.
Yeah.
We shouldn't hurt each other. But the dialogue about it, the debate about it, some people are going to like Dr. Phil thinking. I think great. Some people will like the way I think, or some other way of thinking. I think great. But nonetheless, I say, Dr. Phil, thanks. Because your voice helps bring my voice out.
Beautiful.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah. Thank you.